2 years after it ends, you still can't eat at a dim sum restaurant without checking the exits first. You still sit with your back to the wall. You still scan every face that walks through the door. But there's something else, something that has nothing to do with training. You still think about Jackie, about the way he laughed, about how completely he trusted you, right up until the moment he couldn't anymore. That's the end of the story. Let's go back to the beginning. It starts at Victoria Harbor. The water is black. The air smells like salt and diesel, and something faintly chemical underneath both. You are standing in the middle of a drug deal going wrong in real time, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. The men around you feel the shift before anything visible happens. That particular tightening in the air that every person who operates in these circles learns to read or dies not learning. Then the lights, blue and red, flooding the dock from 3 directions. You run because not running would be more suspicious than running. You don't get far. The holding cell smells like concrete and old cigarettes. You sit and you wait and you do the math on how long it takes for your handler to know you're here and what he can actually do about it. Then a voice across the cell says, your name, your real name. You look up, and there is Jackie Ma. He's older than the last time you saw him, which makes sense because you both are. The laugh lines are deeper. The energy is exactly the same, that particular frequency Jackie operates on, slightly above what the room requires, like a man who finds the world genuinely funnier than most people do, and has never once tried to contain it. Ronald, he says, I thought that was you. You grew up in Old Prosperity together. Different ages, different corners, but the neighborhood was small enough that everyone's orbit overlapped. Jackie was always the one you could hear before you could see him. In the cell, he tells you he can get you back in, that there's a place for you if you want it. You think about why you came back to this city at all. About your sister Mimi, who grew up on these same streets, who got pulled into the wrong current, surrounded by people connected to the Triad. The same organization Jackie now runs errands for. The same organization whose drugs moved through the same hands that were supposed to protect this neighborhood. She died at 21, overdose. The official record is clean and says nothing about the world that put her there. The people responsible walked free. Some of them got promoted. You left after that. San Francisco, the academy. 11 years becoming someone who could come back and do something about it the right way. You tell Jackie you're interested. They release you the next morning. Superintendent Pendrew is already waiting in the interrogation room, the kind of man who is always already seated, always already composed, always already in control before anyone else arrives. Beside him is Raymond, your actual handler, the man who will answer a payphone 12 miles away if you drive far enough to find one. You tell them you have a way in. Jackie Ma, Water Street Gang. A thread that leads somewhere real. Pendrew looks at Raymond. Raymond looks at you. Pendrew says, don't pull it wrong. Then he closes the folder. That's it. That is the full extent of the institutional support you are going to feel for the next several months. 6 words and a closed folder. You walk outside. Jackie is leaning against the wall, eating something from a paper bag, completely unbothered by the previous 12 hours. He hands you half his breakfast without asking. You eat it, you walk, he talks. That's how it begins. 3 days later, Jackie brings you to the Golden Koi restaurant and introduces you to Winston Chu. Winston is in his early 40s. He carries himself with the particular composure of a man who has been the most dangerous person in most rooms for so long that he no longer needs to demonstrate it. He's a red pole, an enforcer rank within the Triad, and the leader of the Water Street Gang. He shakes your hand and asks what you're good at. Not what you do, what you're good at. You tell him you're good at solving problems without creating new ones, at knowing when silence is more useful than words. He looks at you for a moment that goes 1 second longer than comfortable. There's a man named Dog Eyes, he says, leader of the Jade Gang. He's been taking what isn't his. I need someone to help take it back. Prove yourself. You say, tell me where to start. The weeks that follow are a series of escalations. The Jade Gang has been cutting into Water Street territory, pressuring businesses, taking corners, testing how far the boundary lines can be pushed. Winston wants them pushed back. You go to work. You are not gentle about it. You tell yourself it's controlled and purposeful and directed. Mostly that's true. Jackie is beside you through all of it. That's what Jackie does. He shows up. No questions, no hesitation. He's there because you're there, and that is the complete shape of his loyalty. Sometimes, in the middle of something, you look over at him and think about what his face would look like if he knew the truth. You make yourself stop before the thought finishes. Then one afternoon, Inspector Jane arrests you. She's not connected to your operation. She's just a cop doing her job correctly, and she's built enough to bring you in. You can't tell her the truth without burning everything, so you sit across from her and say nothing useful and wait. Pendrew bails you out within hours. He confirms your identity to Jane and tells her to step back. She receives this with the expression of someone being managed, who knows exactly what is happening and is not satisfied by any of it. You file it away, you go back to work. The situation with Dog Eyes breaks when the Jade Gang attacks the Golden Koi directly. Winston's response is immediate. Hit one of their warehouses hard, send a message that cannot be misread. You understand the logic, you also understand the problem. Above Winston, above all the Red Poles and their factions, there is the chairman of the Triad, the Dragon Head, Uncle, an old man whose reputation has calcified over decades into something close to legend. Going to war without his blessing ends careers, or worse. You sit across from Winston and tell him there's another way. Dog Eyes has a drug manufacturer named Joe, the economic engine of the entire Jade Gang. You suggest sparing him, bringing him over, offering Uncle a cut of Joe's production that exceeds anything Dog Eyes could provide, making the Water Street Gang more valuable to the chairman than the Jade Gang, without firing a single shot upward through the organization. Winston looks at you for a long moment, deciding whether this is clever or presumptuous. Then he says, "Do it." You do. The deal lands exactly where it needed to. Uncle Po receives it and sends word back. He wants to meet you personally. Raymond calls before the meeting. His voice is careful in the way that means he's chosen every word in advance. He says you're getting closer to the Triad than the operation requires, that the line between deep cover and something else is not always visible when you're standing on it. You tell him you have it under control. He says, "I know you're fine, Ronald. That's not what I'm asking." You hang up. You sit in your car outside the payphone, and you think about what he was actually asking, which was a different question than the one you answered. Then you start the engine. Then you drive home. Then comes the wedding. Winston and Peggy Lee. The restaurant is decorated in red and gold. White flowers on every table. A live band that Jackie has already tried to bribe into taking requests. Jackie is in a suit that fits him slightly wrong across the shoulders and has been complaining about it happily all week, cornering anyone who will stand still long enough to give him an opinion. Winston is near a mirror by the entrance, adjusting his collar. Peggy comes up behind him and laughs at his reflection and fixes it herself. Then she steps back and looks at him the way people look at things they cannot believe they get to keep. Then the doors open. It happens the way real violence always happens, without warning, without ceremony, collapsing the distance between before and after into almost nothing. The men who come through are dressed like 18K, the colors, the markings, everything pointing at a rival Triad. Winston dies before the ambulance arrives. Peggy is already gone. Uncle has been critically wounded in the attack. You make a decision, you fight through what remains of the chaos, and you get him out. To a vehicle, to a hospital, and you don't stop until he is in a bed with people around him who can keep him alive. Uncle promotes you to Red Pole from his hospital bed. He says Winston trusted you, and Winston was not a man who trusted carelessly. You succeed Winston as leader of the Water Street Gang. Winston's mother, Mrs. Chu, is a small woman with grief set into her like concrete. She doesn't want condolences. She wants to know who did this. You pull a thread. You find a man called Johnny, low level and connected to the night of the attack. What Mrs. Chu extracts from him in that room is not something you stop. The truth that comes out of him, painfully and completely, is this. The men at the wedding were never 18K. They were Dog Eyes' crew wearing borrowed colors. You find Dog Eyes. You bring him to Mrs. Chu. What happens after that is permanent. You stand in the hallway and you don't intervene and you think about Mimi. Now you are Red Pole. Now the Water Street Gang answers to you. And the Triad is watching. A Red Pole named Henry moves into the space that Winston's death created. He wants the Water Street Gang's territory. He sends men to make that clear. You send them back with a clear answer. An alliance forms with another Red Pole. Broken nose. Careful, patient, a woman who watches situations develop and moves at exactly the right moment. She sees Henry the same way you do. The logic is simple. Together, you limit his options. Uncle dies suddenly in the hospital. The Triad needs a temporary chairman. Broken Nose maneuvers the vote, steering it away from Henry, keeping the position out of his hands while the organization recalibrates. You are in the room for these decisions. You are filing everything with Raymond. Names, structures, the financial architecture underneath all of it. The case is being built. Pendrew calls you in. He sits across the table and tells you your undercover duties are over, case closed, time to surface. You look at him and you tell him that if Henry becomes Dragonhead, the Triad will be more dangerous than it ever was under Uncle. that the organization will move in directions that undo everything this operation has built. Pendrew listens to all of it. Then he thanks you for your service. He tells you it's over. He closes the folder. You tell him it isn't. He looks at you for a long moment. Then he stands up and leaves. What you don't know, what you cannot know yet, is what Pendrew does the moment he gets back to his office. He picks up a phone, he calls Henry, and he gives Henry your name, Ronald, cop, undercover, the rat inside their organization. Jackie calls you. His voice is wrong in a way that is immediately alarming. He tells you where he is. You go. Henry's men already have him when you arrive. They took Jackie to pull you out, to confirm what Pendrew told them, to deal with the rat. You have heard what they do. You grew up hearing what they do. You fight your way through. You get to Jackie. You get him out. And for a single brief moment standing on that street with him beside you, you think it's over. It isn't. They take Jackie again before the night is done. This time Lee sends Mr. Tong. An ending. You get the call. You already know what it means before you answer it. Jackie is gone. You find Henry. You corner him. After everything, after all of it, you make it end. It is not clean. Raymond finds you afterward. He says the case is done. The convictions will hold. Then he tells you about Pendrew, promoted to Interpol, the man who handed your name to Henry, the man who got Jackie killed. Untouchable. A few days later, a package arrives, addressed to Officer Shen. Inside the package is a video. Pendrew in Uncle hospital room. The two of them talking, Uncle recounting a deal made years ago. Pendrew's career advanced in exchange for letting the Triad operate. And then Pendrew, calm as a man discussing the weather, telling the old man that he has outlived his usefulness. And then what happens next? Pendrew didn't just burn your cover. Pendrew killed Uncle. You take the video to the people who need to see it. Pendrew is arrested before the day is out. He goes into a system full of Triad members that he spent a career helping to put there, built on a deal he made with a dead man. He understands, when that door closes behind him, exactly what it means. You stand outside the station afterward. You think about Mimi, about what you came back to this city to do, and whether you did it. The people connected to her are going to prison. It isn't the specific shape of justice you wanted. It is the shape that was available. You take it, and you hold it, and you tell yourself, it is enough.